Update. My mom is blaming me, 17 female, for my sister's 22 female attempt to take her life. Original post. For some background, my 17 female sister, 22 female, cheated on her fiancé, 25 male of 3 years, while on a cruise. My parents took us on a cruise to celebrate our graduations, since I graduated high school and she graduated with her bachelor's degree. While on the cruise, I caught her cheating, and she begged me to stay quiet about it. I eventually told 2 of my friends because I couldn't hold it in any longer. Long story short, her fiancé ended up finding out because of me. We had a family dinner with my parents, my sister, and her fiancé. The restaurant is kind of small, so there is a waiting area where you wait for the host to seat you. And right near the waiting area, there is a hallway that leads to the men and women's bathroom, if that makes sense. While waiting for our food, I went to use the restroom and I ran into one of my friends in the bathroom. We talked for a while, and coming out of the bathroom, she asked me if it was awkward between my sister and I. We were exiting the bathroom into the small hallway. I said yes. I feel like I have to be loyal to her because she's my sister. But I also feel like a terrible person for not telling him that she cheated. Turns out, my sister's fiancé overheard our conversation. When I came out of the hallway, I saw him talking on the phone in the waiting area but thought nothing of it at the time. Long story short, he broke up with my sister that same day. He accused her of cheating on him and mentioned what he overheard me say. In a desperate attempt to salvage their relationship, my mom drove my sister and I to his apartment. At his place, my mom explained to him that I lied for attention, and she asked me to apologize. I did apologize, but then he asked me if I lied about the cheating. I wanted to say yes to save my sister's relationship, but he honestly looked so hurt already. I just couldn't bring myself to lie to him. I stayed silent and just shook my head a little. There was a huge argument and he called the cops on us. Up until this morning, my sister and my mom refused to even look at me. They had not spoken to me since the whole incident. My dad was the only one who didn't blame me for everything. I know that I should have kept quiet about it, and I feel guilty for ruining their relationship. I feel really bad because he actually made my sister happy. This morning around 1 a.m., my dad woke me up and he was crying. All I remember hearing was my mom sobbing from across the hallway. Everything from that point was just traumatic. When I entered my sister's old bedroom, she was just lying on the floor. My mom was crying while on the phone with 911 and she was yelling incoherent sentences. My sister attempted to end herself. I don't want to describe the scene, but I can't get it out of my head. All I feel is guilt. To make matters worse, while we were at a hospital, I accidentally angered my mom. I told my dad that I was thirsty and he was going to help me find some water. But my mom got really mad. She exploded in both of us, but mainly me. She basically blamed me for everything. She said if my sister doesn't make it, then her blood is on my hands. And she also said that she wished it was me instead of my sister. My dad cut her off and yelled at her for saying those things, but she just argued back, defending herself. I honestly just feel horrible. My parents and my sister wouldn't have to deal with this mess if I just kept quiet and lied. My grandma came to the hospital and picked me up. I insisted on staying, but my dad refused. Now for the top advice before reading the update. She was responsible for her own actions when she cheated, and she is responsible for the choice to try to end herself. I completely understand why you feel some level of guilt, but this is all on her. And that mom, oh my god, what a horrifying woman. Older sister learned her utter disregard for other human beings from an absolute pro. Hope Opie can get some serious love at grandma's, start counseling and put as much distance, literal and emotional, between herself and her mom as is humanly possible. Like so distant, I hope Opie becomes an astronaut. This is not your fault, at all. You have an extremely toxic mother who favors your sister. Hang tight to your dad. He knows the truth, and hopefully will continue to do right by you. Yeah, and the fact that mom is blaming her and says she wishes it was her instead is extremely toxic, abusive, and wrong. Do not feel guilty, Opie. I'd be freaking done with both of them. Too bad she can't just live with her dad. No, you haven't done a single thing wrong. Your sister made this mess, and no one else is responsible for it than her. Please read this comment and take it to heart, Opie. None of this is your fault. Your sister made all of her own decisions. You didn't do anything wrong. She chose to cheat on her boyfriend. Then she tried to have you fake apologize. She chose to try ending herself because she couldn't deal with the consequences of her actions. Your mom is doing the same with blaming you. Stay strong. Listen to your dad. None of this is your fault. Please seek therapy too. Agree with everyone saying this is not your fault. Now it is time to protect yourself. If it is possible, can you stay with your grandmother? It is not going to be pleasant when your mom and sister return to the house, seeing how mom is acting right now. This is for your mental health. Thank you for your advice. I truly appreciate it. I don't think my grandma will be opposed to me staying with her. I'm going off to college in the fall, so I can ask my grandma if I can stay with her in the meantime. If she agrees, then I'll be staying with her for another 2 months or so. Now for the update. First, I want to thank everyone for all the kind messages, advice, and concerns. It honestly means a lot that so many people took the time out of their days to help me. Thank you. A lot has happened in the past few days, but I obviously can't mention everything. I'm not really sure where to start, but I'll begin with my sister. My sister has woken up and she's stable. She was discharged from the hospital yesterday, but she's still dealing with self-inflicted wounds that are still healing. My relationship with my mom and sister has deteriorated a lot. It honestly hurts that we aren't on speaking terms, but our relationships have never been great to begin with. At the moment, my sister is refusing to speak to me. I went to visit her at a hospital last week, and it was a couple hours after she woke up. But when I got there, she refused to even look at me. I knew that she was hurting, so I gave her space. My sister's ex-fiancé came to my grandma's house the day after my sister attempted. My dad, him, and I had a long conversation about everything. I was able to directly tell him what I caught her doing, how she reacted afterwards, and how she begged me to stay silent about it. After I was done explaining what I saw, he showed us a bunch of messages that my sister sent him shortly before she attempted to take her life. She basically wrote long messages, claiming she was held down and violated, and said that she begged me not to say anything to him because she was afraid and embarrassed about what happened to her. She then told him that he should not believe me because I'm just a kid who was confused about what I saw. Her ex-fiancé kept asking me if I was sure of what I saw, and I am. My dad didn't say much at this point, but it was obvious how disappointed he was to see the messages. To be clear, I always believe in supporting assault victims and being there for them, but I think it's disgusting what she was doing. I know exactly what I saw, and I wish I had proof. But when I walked into our room, she was enjoying what was going on. Without being too specific, my sister was not held down. She was on top of him when I walked in and was basically riding his face. Not only did she quickly get off him when she realized I walked in, but she tried to explain herself. Later that night, she begged me to not say anything about what I saw because she was drunk and made a dumb mistake. Her ex was obviously devastated, and my dad kept apologizing to him. My dad ended up confirming that I was telling the truth, because shortly after her ex-fiancé broke up with her, she eventually confessed to my parents that she willingly cheated, and so the story about her being assaulted was just fabricated. Yesterday, shortly after being discharged, my sister started posting on social media about how victims aren't taken seriously. She received a lot of concern and kind feedback from her friends and our extended family. And to make matters worse, my mom went on a huge rant on Facebook, bashing my sister's ex for breaking up with her after she was assaulted. My grandma ended up dropping me off at home yesterday because she needed to run some errands and didn't feel comfortable leaving me alone at her home due to my current mental state. I felt better knowing that my dad was home. I just planned on locking myself into my room until my grandma came back. Well, my dad was very upset when he found out about the social media post and confronted my mom. They got into a big argument. My dad told her that he was tired of her defending and lying to save my sister. He kept talking about how she's preventing her from being an adult and facing the natural consequences of her actions. But my mom wasn't having it. A lot of bad things were said, but at the end, my dad told her that he was tired of her, which made her snap. She started ranting about how he was heartless and was incapable of forgiveness. My dad responded asking her what she called him, swallowing his self-worth and pride when he forgave her for cheating. My mom started yelling that he was bringing up old stuff that happened more than 20 years ago. He started crying, saying he sacrificed a lot for this family, but she continues to be ungrateful and stab him in the back. My mom lost it and started blaming him. She said he is always away, he's a pilot, and she was lonely. They continued going back and forth, but then she just yelled that she should have left him when she had a chance. To cut this post short, my mom started taunting my dad with the fact that she continued to cheat on him after he originally found out. My dad told her to pack her things and leave the house. My mom didn't really care at that point, and she made sure to tell him that she's filing for divorce as soon as she gets the chance. And she also told him that she will most likely be awarded full custody of my younger brother, 15 male, because my dad is always gone, and she will take him to Europe so they can live with their family. For context, my mom is from a Slavic country. They got into another argument about my brother and his custody. I didn't mention my brother in my other post because he wasn't at the cruise and won't be home until the beginning of July. He's been away on mission/service trip in Latin America. He left for this trip shortly after we got out of school. I ended up leaving the house and driving back to my grandma's house. I waited in my car until she got back home. I just couldn't stay with my family any longer. I should also mention that my mom and my sister are aware of my last post. Apparently, my post has been featured on several viral TikTok videos, and some family friends who know the situation have sent the videos and posts to my mom. My mom is extremely mad at me, and over the weekend, she kept demanding I'd take my post down. But I told her I wouldn't take it down until she read a comment. And when she did, she told me that my sister was being unfairly judged by strangers, and the comments were being dramatic. As of today, my sister is home with my dad. My mom left the house and she's staying at her friend's house while I'm staying with my grandma. Your mom is defending your sister because she herself has cheated. That's some twisted dynamics. You're poor, Dad. Try to be there for each other. Try to be there for your brother, too. If you're able, get a therapist. If your parents divorce, you and your brother are old enough for most judges to give you a say in who you want to live with. Don't worry about that, but tell your dad to get a lawyer ASAP. If your mom continues to cuddle and enable your sister's behavior without letting her facing the consequences of her actions, she will continue to do her a disservice, and they will likely team up and enable each other. Stay away. You don't need that in your life. You will thrive again, dear Opie. The following months will likely be hard, but after the storm is over, you will be able to rebuild with only the pieces that you choose and add value to your life. Hang on to the fact that it will pass, and you will be better after all the crap storm is past. To add, I'm assuming that you are in the US. She cannot legally remove any of the underage children from the country without the other parent's permission. If you are elsewhere, you'd have to look it up. Tell him to find a really good lawyer. Thank you so much. I'm really afraid for my brother. He is aware of everything that is going on, but doesn't know the full extent yet. My dad doesn't want to ruin his missions trip with this mess, and I think it's better that we tell him now, or else my mom might manipulate him when he gets back. My mom kept telling my dad that no judge would give him full custody with his work schedule, and she said the second she gets an opportunity to leave with my brother, she'll go to Europe with him. I'm just really scared for him. My dad does travel a lot for work, obviously, but I'm sure my brother can just stay with our grandma until my dad is back. I don't know if that would hold up in court, but I'm terrified that my mom will take him away. She was being very serious when she said she would. My brother already isn't the most masculine guy, and my mom constantly makes aggressive comments about it. She constantly questions his sexuality because he isn't into manly activities. But her native country is extremely homophobic, and they expect men to be very masculine. Although my brother is not gay, I'm afraid for his safety. I don't want him flown out to another country. And I definitely don't want him away from my grandma, my dad, and I. This is a crap show, honestly. Though this update did confirm something I thought about after reading the original post, that your mom had indeed cheated, or is currently cheating. No normal/sane parent, unless there's a clear favorite/spoiled kid involved, would go to the lengths your mom went to help, hide, or even support cheating. It's good your dad is calling your mom out, and that you have the support of your grandma. You'll need the support because of how your mom and sister are handling the situation, caused by your sister, mind you. This is not in any way, shape, or form your fault. Last story. I can't keep piecing my child back together. There's an ongoing custody case against my daughter's 9 female father. We had a peaceful co-parenting for 4 years until he began dating his now wife 3 years ago. There is quite a bit of neglect, emotional, and verbal abuse in their household, and I can't stand the effect it's having on my child. Please believe me that I have strived to always maintain a neutral attitude about her dad in front of her and to create a stable and consistent home for her. I've had her in therapy for over a year. 2 weeks ago, he threatened to break all of her electronics and throw them in the swimming pool if she continued to talk to me about the things that go on at his house. This weekend, there was a DV incident involving the cops, which she witnessed. To top it off, she came with 104-degree fever and had a febrile seizure, so we had to rush off to the hospital. I can't stand how shut down and withdrawn she was when she came home. We're fast approaching an age where mommy's snuggles and hugs can't make it all better. Piecing her back together after these visitation weekends is a battle, and I feel like I'm losing no matter what I do. And while I know it isn't about me, I'm just physically and emotionally exhausted. Not to mention the strain that lawyer fees are putting on our budget. I can't quit crying. There's no easy solution to this, and I just needed to vent for a minute. Get a copy of the police report and ask for emergency custody. Dad's home isn't safe for her. Dad is also threatening her not to talk. Talk to CPS. Get your daughter a therapist. Ask the police if they can interview her about what happened. Let them know he threatened her not to talk about what happens at his home. Hospital records and police reports should go a long way with the courts. A parent telling the child to not talk to the other about their home could be, and is in some cases, considered parental alienation. This is a very specific type of abuse with long-term negative effects. Some states don't recognize it, and some have strict rules to enforce the parent who is doing such things to receive treatment, punishment, or loss of visitation. True, but more importantly, that's encouraging kids to hide secrets that should be reported, like abuse, neglect, parental addiction problems, etc. Which is what appears to be happening here. Threats to destroy the kid's toys if she tells her mother about what's going on are abuse, and not at all normal. Also, that 104 Fahrenheit fever is pretty darn neglectful. Edit? I was very surprised to see this gain any attention, but thank you for the kind words. I would like to be clear that we do have an excellent lawyer, and legal action has been taken. I'll pay any price to ensure her safety, but I'd also be lying if I said it isn't a struggle. Am I the a-hole for pressing charges on a former friend for shaving my head in my sleep? Plus, update 1.5 years later. Original post. For context, a relative of what used to be a close friend of mine who will call Gary for this story, contracted cancer. I, mid-20s male, was sympathetic and even contributed $100 to a donation pool for their treatment. But Gary came to me one day and took his hat off to reveal a freshly shaven head. He told me that everyone in his family were doing it in support of his relative, and so were a lot of our mutual friends. Then he asked that I get on a bandwagon. I told him I didn't want to shave my head because I like my hair. My hair is black, regularly combed and well-styled. He said I could just get a wig or something, and had actually brought his shaver kit. He was unboxing it when I told him this was not happening. I don't even really know his relative that he's doing this for, so I'm not doing it. End of discussion. He called me an a-hole and left angry, and we didn't speak for a week. Then last Saturday, I got invited to a party at another close friend's house. There, I found out that Gary had tried the same thing on several other friends, and only a couple of them actually did shave their heads. Gary wasn't at a party, so I had a blast hanging out, playing video games and listening to rock music. But I had way too much to drink and couldn't drive home, so they said I could just sleep upstairs. I passed out on a bed and it was a blissful sleep, till I was shaken awake by another friend who told me Gary had showed up late, and they caught him shaving my head while I was passed out. I saw what I looked like in a mirror and wanted to scream like I was in a horror movie. Gary even shaved off one of my eyebrows. Gary was still there and acting proud of himself, saying, "Now you're gonna have to shave off the rest, just like me, lol." I was furious and called the cops. When they got there, Gary fully admitted to what he had done to me and even said he was justified. The police didn't seem to think so, as this is classified as a form of assault. They asked me if I wanted to press charges, and the first words out of my mouth were, "Hell yes." Gary cussed me out while they took him away in cuffs. I tried getting my hair restyled into something presentable, but there was no saving it, and now I'm bald too. Now a bunch of Gary's family are telling me to drop the charges because Gary was off his meds and didn't mean to do it. I was like, WTF, because I never knew he was on meds. But I still refused to drop the charges. It'll take months to grow my hair back the way it was. But all of the calls and messages from Gary's relatives are starting to get to me. Just about everyone else in our friend group has cut Gary out though, and say that I'm doing the right thing by not dropping the charges. So now I'm divided. Am I the a-hole for pressing charges on a former friend for shaving my head in my sleep? Now for the top comments before reading the updates more than a year later. Not the a-hole. Contact the DA that is handling the case and let him know that his family is pressuring you to drop the charges. They may be violating the law too. If Gary hasn't learned to take his meds, a little time in jail will teach him that lesson. That is a very good idea. I'll take care of that as soon as I can. Make copies of all the texts. Save the voicemails. Don't block them. Let them spew, as all this info should go to the police. And yeah, not the a-hole. Gary is an adult. He knows what'll happen if he goes off his meds, and he did it anyway. Sounds like his family might be doing a wee bit of enabling there. No means no. If he hasn't figured it out by now, the authorities need to teach him. Not the a-hole. The police called it assault because that's what it is. Block all his relatives, but save any messages you already have and report them for harassment. Do not feel bad about pressing charges either. He assaulted you and was proud of it. Edit. I want to make something clear here. So many people have said things like, "Dude, it's just hair." But would they all be saying that if I wasn't a man? What if I was some girl that had hair that took years to grow? Would they be saying the same thing? Sure, hair grows back, but it takes time. If it was something that grew back fast, people would be less inclined to care. But it's not fast. It takes months. And for some who had long hair, years. That's a lot of time wasted growing. And I don't plan on pushing for Gary to go to prison. But I don't plan to drop the charges either. His family already bailed him out. And while I didn't know he was on meds, I knew he had quite the temper, and even an entitled attitude at times. One example being a lunch where he wanted us all to combine the check and split it evenly. He got the most expensive thing on the menu, while I got a cheeseburger. When we all said no, Gary went off on us for not being good friends. He's always been an ass when he doesn't get his way, and I've only known him for like 3 years. This incident was the last straw for not just me, but a lot of other mutual friends. As for the charges, I don't want to send Gary to prison, but I would like him to get some therapy and community service. With the way Gary has acted around me in the past and what he did to me, I actually wonder how long before he got more violent. I've seen and heard of him getting in fights for less. I've also gotten many comments from people saying, "You're the a-hole, he has cancer." If you actually read what I posted, Gary's not one with cancer. A relative of his I don't know does. And no, I don't know what kind of cancer, cause Gary didn't elaborate. He wanted me to shave my head for this person. And when I refused, he left in a tantrum, then shaved my head while I was passed out drunk at a party. Now 40 updates more than a year later. A friend of mine just showed me a video yesterday in which my old post had been read. Honestly, I'd nearly forgotten about it since I was only there to ask if I was the a-hole or not. And since I don't want to go through the pain of trying to do an update on AITA, I thought I'd just do it here, since Entitled spells out Gary pretty well. Other than the shaving incident, he tried to get us to partially pay for his food multiple times by combining the check and dividing it equally when he always got the most expensive thing on the menu, and once even pulled the "I forgot my wallet" bit. He was described as a neckbeard by multiple people, including women he flirted with. He even tried to get a married neighbor woman that was older than him to have an affair with her. and then later egged her apartment door when she refused. That one I only learned about a couple months after my original post. And no, Gary never saw consequences for doing that. I also learned he stole several video games and DVDs from friends, mooched food and drinks out of their fridges, and even went through a period as a squatter for 2 months by refusing to leave a house he'd been let into by a former tenant, and the landlord actually paid him to leave. Gary's also an extreme hypocrite that contradicted himself more than a corrupt politician. For example, 1 minute he'd be anti-vax. The next, he'd be complaining about other people who weren't getting the C-19 vaccine. Pretty sure he never got it too. I can't believe I ever had any sympathy for this man. To recap, someone a former friend of mine named Gary is related to got cancer. And Gary went around trying to get our friend group to all shave their heads. He only got a couple of them to agree, and even brought a shaving kit to my apartment because he just assumed I'd join in as well, and was already unboxing it before I even got the chance to say anything. I told him the shaving was not happening. Well, he decided to make an example of me and waited till I was good and passed out from drinking at a friend's party. I was so dead to the world that I had to be shaken awake by a friend after Gary got caught shaving my head. He took off one of my eyebrows and messed up my hair beyond saving, and he was laughing his butt off over having done it. So yes, the rest had to come off. I ended up pressing charges on Gary for assault and found out he's been on meds for mental disorder for years. And he'd stopped taking the meds, which is one of the reasons he was so loopy. But his tune changed pretty quick when police arrested him, since what he'd done qualifies as assault. Gary's family then arrested me and tried to make me drop the charges. I not only didn't drop the charges, but I reported the harassment to the police. Only problem is, it didn't bloody stop. In fact, it got worse. Mainly from Gary's mother, whom I can see where Gary got his charming personality from. She showed up to my apartment a couple of weeks after the shaving incident to scream at me that I knew nothing about what they were going through, and a little hair wasn't a big deal. I told her my hair was a big deal to me, and what Gary did was inexcusable. Well, that earned me a slap on the face, followed by a swift kick to the nuts, followed by a few more kicks to my body after I went down. It was all recorded by a camera that I had watching the front door, as landlord wouldn't let me put in a Ring doorbell cam. One of my neighbors saw her and screamed at her they'd be calling the police. Gary's mom ran, and I ended up going to the hospital with minor injuries. Mostly just bruises, a black eye, and a sore groin. Gary's mother got arrested, and I filed a lawsuit against her for attacking me. I saw her in court twice for both his assault on me and a lawsuit I filed for her assault. This woman had taken several self-defense classes over the years, so she knew how to fight. That had a judge consider her a trained individual, and she was sentenced to 6 months in jail, given 2 years probation, and ordered to pay my medical bills. She actually cried to the judge about the money, but he wasn't having it. It took some time to see her in court again for my lawsuit against her, as she was out of jail by then. I was awarded $10,000 for the harassment, emotional damages, and lost work hours, and she had to pay all court and lawyer fees, which she cried about because she didn't want to pay anything to the man who'd ruined her and her son's lives. But she had the money for both court cases because she had no problem paying. But around that time, I heard Gary's relative with cancer passed away. I don't know any details, just that they passed on. I admit that was sad, but I never knew this person. But Gary made their condition his hill to die on when he tried to make an example out of me. Gary got some probation and community service for what he did to my hair. And he cut contact with our entire friend group and eventually moved away. Where to? I don't know. I don't care either. As for my hair, well, it grew back just fine. Took nearly half a year to get it back how it was. My boss had me put out of sight for a while, and I was wearing a hat everywhere for at least a month. I did take that $10K I got in the lawsuit and combined it with my savings for a down payment on a house. So I've since moved into a much better abode. I also have a girlfriend that's now living with me. It was a bit soon for her to move in, but there were extenuating circumstances. We're making it work though, and I'm happy. I want to know how long it took to regrow his eyebrow. I was at a sleepover when I was 13, and one of the group decided to put that hair removal cream on my eyebrows for a laugh because I fell asleep early. Not the same as shaving it, but they left it on so long, I woke up screaming from the burns. I didn't get my eyebrows back properly for over 10 years. I'm actually very lucky I got any hair back, and that the burns weren't a lot worse. I know people have shaved a line into their eyebrow for fashion and they never came back quite right. Eyebrows are weird. I was a teen girl in the 90s and I got into the trend of plucking my eyebrows until they were basically one hair wide. Pictures make me cringe so hard. I look like a damn alien. They've never quite recovered. Still got some weird patches. And yeah, that shaved line thing was popular with the guys. I guess now I know how that worked out for some of them. I lost my eyebrows when I went through chemo. They never grew back right. The hairs are sparser, and a couple of hairs get a wonky bend in them. They also came back several shades lighter than before. I want to know how cancer patients feel watching their family and friends' hair grow back. No one is ever the a-hole for not shaving their heads in solidarity. Cancer patient here. I had a couple of friends offer to shave their heads in solidarity when I went through chemo, and I asked them not to. I told them to enjoy their hair, and that them being bald wouldn't actually make my life any easier. I honestly think it's a bit of an attention grab. Disclaimer, I've never had cancer, and nobody I would call very close to me has had cancer of that severity. But I always felt like if it were me, I would feel like other people voluntarily shaving their hair off is like rubbing it in my face. I tend to take things the wrong way. I have a habit of needing social cues explained to me, so take that as will. But I just don't think I'd want to look at a bunch of voluntarily bald people when my hair is falling out in clumps. And I feel like crap. Like you did that on purpose? I don't know. I hope you're doing better. Last story. Am I the a-hole for encouraging my friend to not get a vasectomy? My 34 male friend, 30 male who we'll call Jay, told me that he was considering a vasectomy. Even though he really didn't want to get one because his girlfriend of 3 weeks demanded that he get one if he was going to date her. I asked him why he didn't want one, and he had a few reasons that I felt were all super justified. Honestly, I didn't think he needed a reason beyond the fact that he didn't want to. He said that this lady he is dating said he would break up with him if he didn't, because he needed to be supportive of her views. I assume about the abortion issue. Probably rude of me to assume, but I'm being honest. I told him 3 weeks is way too soon to be demanding body-altering surgeries, even if mostly reversible, and if he's not comfortable with it, let her dump him. It's his body, not hers. If he was demanding she get body-altering surgery when she didn't want to, I'd be smacking him upside the head. Well, he told her he wasn't going to, that if she wanted to leave him, go ahead, but he isn't comfortable. She wigged out and asked him why, and he told her about our conversation. She then proceeded to message me on social media, telling me to stay out of their business, and that I'm an a-hole. I just said lol and block her. I genuinely don't feel like an a-hole. I'm actually rather proud of myself. I believe and stand by what I said. But this is the internet, so I will leave it to you guys to say your piece and judge away. So am I the a-hole? Not a-hole. All you did was give your friend your opinion. That's what friends are there for. Honestly, the girl sounds crazy to have an ultimatum this early for something quite serious, and reaching out to insult you confirmed her kookiness. I imagine she wouldn't have the best reaction if he demanded she go on birth control or they break up. I agree with what you said. It's far too early, and at the end of the day, that decision should lie with the person whose body it is. Besides, it's not like you purposefully swayed his opinion. It sounds like he never wanted to get a vasectomy, and she's forcing him into one. So you're definitely not the a-hole. Just a good friend offering support. Thank you. I just want to say that I totally support men getting them for their long-term partner/wife, especially in solidarity. I just don't support ultimatums from people who are barely in a relationship, especially when it's body-altering surgery. 100% agree. I think it's a great option for birth control. And I think we should normalize more men taking that route, especially since it's far more safer than female birth controls. But you should never force that on a partner, especially someone you're barely dating. Not Dale. This isn't about the vasectomy. This is about a person he has known for 3 weeks making demands about his bodily autonomy. I'm not trying to be mean or harsh, but is her friend okay? This is so extreme and abnormal. I'm glad he told her no, but the fact that he even considered it is very concerning. How is his mental health? Maybe you should encourage him to seek some therapy. The a-hole in this situation, and I say this as a woman, is this horrible woman who would make such an unreasonable demand after 3 weeks of dating, or 3 years of dating. And attacking you for supporting your friend is not okay. Good job, OP. Keep an eye on this situation. This woman he is dating is a real worry. If she continues to press him, send her some detailed info on how to get a salpingectomy, removal of the fallopian tubes, rendering the woman totally sterile. Then, she can put her money and bodily autonomy in her own hands. He's okay. I think he's inexperienced with relationships, and is simply really wanting to be what he thinks is a good man. Everyone wants to be loved. Edit/update. He dumped her, called to finalize fishing plans, and he let me know he broke up with her. I told him I made a Reddit post, and we laughed. Beers and fish tomorrow. Update. My 32 male wife, 35 female, is suggesting we open our marriage to my childhood friend. Original post. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 8, and now I have 2 small kids together. She is the love of my life, and I could not imagine myself with anyone else. About 3 years into our marriage, she started to show attraction to Asian characters in the shows and movies we watched together in our weekly movie nights. At first, I brushed it off as a joke, but I realized she was serious about a month ago when we started watching Chicago Med. She joked often of wanting one of the characters, Dr. Choi, to be her doctor so he could feel her up. I laughed along until she insisted we stop watching when Dr. Choi got into a relationship with another doctor. Thinking about it now, throughout our entire relationship, Asian men caught her attention. For the past few years, she's been obsessed with popular K-pop members, joking how she would rather be with Eric Moon and Jimin, even going as far to say that she's disappointed she got stuck with a white man and that our babies aren't as cute. A friend of mine since childhood is Korean and visits with us often. He and my wife have become friends. I always thought she acted weird around him, but I never took it personally until last night. As I was cleaning up dinner, she put the kids to bed and asked to sit down and have a talk about something important. I was hesitant, but agreed. She started it by saying that she didn't feel like our intimate life was as fulfilling as it used to be. I was taken aback and asked what I could do to bring her more fulfillment. She suggested we bring any third person into it. I instantly knew she had someone in mind despite her denying it. And after an hour of talking in circles, she revealed she had been having simple thoughts and urges regarding my childhood friend, and she suggested I watch. I was stunned and told her I didn't want to discuss this anymore and slept in the living room. She took the kids to school this morning and went to help her sister pack as she is moving soon. We haven't spoken since last night, and I don't know what to do. I'm sat in my car outside my office writing this. I don't want to go home and see her knowing what she's thinking about. I think I want the divorce as she's clearly no longer the woman I fell in love with, and I suspect she has already acted upon her urges with him. Is that too big of a jump over a simple fantasy? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Don't fall for this crap. She wants to sleep with your friend, and she is using your lack of fulfilling life as an excuse to get what she wants without guilt. Do not fall for it. In my opinion, there is no coming back from this. In therapy, she will either deny or just say it is not working, may even eventually cheat on you. Doesn't a friend have to agree? We seem to ignore the fact that a friend would be totally against this and assume he will just say yes just because she wants it. The good friend should just shut her down and make her realize her foolishness. Unfortunately, if he shuts her down, she will have yellow fever until she gets what she wants. Based on her past comments, I believe divorce is OP's only option. I personally wouldn't say divorce is an extreme here. For real, especially because it looks like OP's wife is fetishizing Asians. Yeah, his wife seems so weird and creepy, especially with her comments being disappointed marrying a white man, since their babies won't be as cute as mixed Asian babies. So gross. Sorry, OP. She apparently can't imagine herself with someone else. You are no longer compatible. She has already picked out an affair partner, and you can watch. I suggest you start getting your financial affairs in order. Her crack about not having desirable-looking children with you is a massive insult. Be present and think about your own happiness too. You can watch. How incredibly disturbing, man. Brutal. It's like, well, damn, I definitely have a picture in my head now, huh? And her hating on her kid's look for not being the race she wants? Brutal. Yeah, I get her talking like that about her kids recorded somehow, so that when we hit divorce court, the judge can understand how shallow her existence and priorities are. Better to not tell the kids about this, unless you're willing to breed resentment in your children towards the mother. Honestly, so much stuff wrong with this post. And now for the update. First of all, I want to thank your community for the support. I'm sorry for the late update. Things have been busy around my house. To fill you all in relatively quickly, I returned home that night and made a post, and my wife and I were still not speaking. I waited until she was putting the kids to bed to make a call to my friend. I wanted to talk to him alone. I slipped outside and made a call, and I told him everything. He told me he was so sorry for me, and that my wife's behavior was disgusting. He then confessed to me that a few years into my wife and I's marriage, she, drunk, made a move on him at a mutual friend's party. It began as flirting, and my friend was not entertaining it. She kissed him, and he left the party early. I asked him why he never told me about it, and he said he didn't want to ruin our marriage over something she did while drunk. They never spoke about it and continued as normal friends. Now that a week has passed, I've figured out that his party aligns with the start of her strange behavior towards Asian men in media. I thanked him for sharing this with me and hung up. I immediately went inside and confronted my wife. I was officially disgusted with her for pushing a kiss on my friend and suggesting I watch her be with him. I told her exactly how I was feeling and what my friend had told me. My wife admitted she only asked to open our bedroom to him because she has had feelings for him for years and wanted to keep herself from cheating on me. I explained that she already had and wrecked the foundation of our relationship. I told her we were divorcing and not to try and stop me, as was not changing my mind. In the last week, I've been staying with friends and family. She has done nothing but harass me via my number, and I am proud to say I have given her no attention. I see her still while stopping by my house during the day for my kids. They are too young to understand what's going on, and as I mentioned in my last post, they attended a daycare/schooling program for young children during the summer, and as a result, I never spend long in the house, and typically leave while taking them there. She won't mention it in front of them, so it hasn't been an issue. I've been seeking out a lawyer for divorce proceedings and looking for an apartment in my kids' school district. I feel freed. Many of you were right. Our marriage has been dead for a very long time. I'm not sure if I can ever see my friend the same way. I want to start therapy and try to work on it. He's been a very close friend since childhood, and I would hate to lose him. My friends and family have been very supportive, so have most of you on Reddit. You've helped me very much and made me feel valid in my feelings. I thank you all for that. Since no one mentioned this, if you own the house, go back to it immediately. If you don't, you will be seen as abandoning the house and kids. This will mess up your alimony and child support. Judges do not look kindly on this. Get back to the house. Thank you for telling me this. I only do not sleep at the house. I'll go while my kids are there and leave while they're gone and spend the nights away. The home is owned by my wife's parents, so she's not leaving. I am there every day. Their daycare/schooling program has those who drop off their children sign them in with both the child's name and yours. This is proof I have been seeing my kids for the last week and driving them there. I have this and many photos of my children from this last week. This situation is extremely temporary, as I now have a move-in date for an apartment nearby. Does this all work well for me? I really doubt she will fight me in custody at all. In the brief conversations we have had that she brought up our kids and what to do, we seem to agree 50-50 is the correct thing. Don't ask Reddit. Just do what your lawyer advises. Last story. Updates about my 24 female boyfriend's 25 male creepy best friend 24 male. Original post. I've been dating my boyfriend for 3 years, and we've been living together for the past 6 months. My boyfriend has a childhood friend. They've been best friends forever. They've been friends from elementary school. He's been there for my boyfriend through his mother's protracted illness and eventual death. During a time period where we hadn't met yet, he's like a brother to my boyfriend. My boyfriend speaks of him with a lot of respect and affection. The three of us hang out a lot, but this best friend of his is a bit of a... I'll let you pick the right word after I describe him to you. His relationships never last. One of the girls he dated was going to call the cops on him because he hit her and verbally abused her. He called my boyfriend, who then proceeded to talk her down and convince her not to go to the cops. My boyfriend then promised her that his friend would never bother her anymore. The whole thing threw me off, but I know my boyfriend. He is a gem of a person. The only reason that girl didn't press charges against his friend was because she knew she would trust my boyfriend to protect her and keep his word. I wanted to have nothing to do with his friend after that incident, but my boyfriend explained his friend's complicated past to me and rationalized his behavior. I let my boyfriend hang out with him, but I myself stayed away from him. Things eventually got better. His friend got therapy and seemed to be doing well. So for the sake of my boyfriend, I let him back into our lives. That was a mistake. Now that we've moved in together, I feel like his friend visits too often. He would order me around in our house. Get me this, get me that. My boyfriend would immediately smooth the situation by getting him that himself. One day, when I snapped at his friend, he told my boyfriend right in front of me, get her under control. And my boyfriend apologized to him. Then after he left, apologized to me for taking his side. I was left so confused and bewildered. The worst part is, the way his friend looks at me. It just feels disgusting and wrong. I don't feel comfortable wearing shorts or sleeveless tops or low-cut tops in my own home when he visits. We have a 3-seater couch in our living room and 2 single-seaters. If I'm on the 3-seater, he would come sit right next to me. I've told my boyfriend this many times and he stopped inviting him over, but that hasn't stopped his friend from coming over uninvited. Yesterday, he showed up when my boyfriend wasn't home and refused to leave before talking to my boyfriend first. I was forced to wait with him for my boyfriend to return. Then he steered the conversation towards our private life, asking and talking about how all the girls were always throwing themselves at my boyfriend, how he never understood why, and he wanted me to explain what I liked about my boyfriend that much. I didn't even reply to that question, and he continued to pester me about it. Is it his junk? I got up and walked out, leaving him to wait alone, even though I wasn't comfortable leaving him alone in our home. My boyfriend is unwilling to cut him off completely, despite me begging him to do so 1,000,000 times. I even threatened to break up with him. He just broke down. He promised he'll have a talk to his friend and set him in line. But he said he can't cut him off because he was there for him when no one was. That he owed him. I love my boyfriend. He's the best person I've ever met in my life. He is a total saint, but I've had enough. I am thinking of leaving him if he continues to be in contact with his friend. But I cannot bring myself to leave, especially because we've never had any significant relationship troubles of our own making. I couldn't ask for a better man to be a father of my children, except this inability to cut off a rotting arm, in this case, his best friend. He's just not someone who gives up on people. I'm at a crossroads here. I need advice from people who have been in a similar situation. Your boyfriend is enabling his friend. I've had a complicated past, but I'm not an ass towards other people, because having a bad history isn't an excuse to be one. He should be challenging his friend's behavior instead of tiptoeing around it and literally getting him out of trouble. Honestly, I don't blame you for wanting to walk. I don't think I could have stayed with someone knowing they had prevented a woman who had been assaulted from calling the cops. It's one thing to be a nice guy. It's another thing to be a doormat and enable bad behavior. Yes, OP's boyfriend is not a gem of a person if he chooses to surround himself with people like this. He is an apologist and enables his terrible behavior. I cannot get past the part where boyfriend protected and excused a woman beater, and you allowed it. This alone is not okay. A huge red flag. and that you so easily move on from it as an issue is not okay. You need to really consider what you think is acceptable or not. My boyfriend is loyal to a fault. He tried many times to get his friend therapy and the help he needed. He told me that his friend had literally held his hand through his mother's time in palliative care. They just have too much history together that I can never compete with or begin to understand. My boyfriend did promise me that he won't protect his friend a second time. My boyfriend has never been abusive towards me. He would cut off his arm before he hurt a hair on my head. So if his friend gets mad and strikes you, what are you expecting your boyfriend to do? Same question, but instead of strikes, substitute violates. Those creepy questions after getting OP alone about their intimate life are this guy's idea of foreplay, and he will convince the boyfriend that it was somehow her fault. Now for the update. I posted over a week ago about my situation on here. You were all kind enough to take the time to give me some real advice. I thought if my boyfriend could see it too, maybe it would serve as a wake-up call. So I threw caution into the air and showed him my Reddit post. He spent a long time reading the replies, in silence, then went off on me for sharing private details about our life on the internet. He scolded me for making him look like an abuse enabler and accused me of not knowing the details of what happened. We got into a huge fight about it, and I walked out on him and temporarily moved in with a cousin. Then today I got a call from one of his co-workers asking why he had a busted lip and a swollen face. So I called him and asked to meet him. He said he got into a fight with his friend over me. I asked him to press charges, and he refused. He said they're not on talking terms anymore, and that it didn't matter. However, he said he can't overlook the fact that I posted about him on the internet instead of talking to him, when in reality, that's all I've been doing for the past few years. I can't get past the fact that he is still unwilling to press charges on his friend after becoming his victim. So we decided to break it off. We haven't figured out what we're going to do about the apartment or anything. I am just crushed. I thought being away from me would finally bring him to his senses, but turns out I was asking too much. I really hope I did the right thing. No idea how I am going to deal with losing him, and I can't help but feel like none of this would have happened if only I hadn't posted about him. I'm still not sure if this is a good thing. I guess only time will tell. I feel horrible about myself, but here I am doing it all over again. I could really use some words of wisdom right now. Your story gave me chills. Guys like that creep are extremely dangerous, so breaking up with your boyfriend, who brings these kind of dangerous people in your life, was the best thing you did. Trust me, you will be extremely grateful for the choice you made. I am positive your boyfriend agrees with everything you wrote and all the advice you got in your previous post. Otherwise, he wouldn't go and fight with that creep. He is only angry because reading your post made him realize what kind of person he has been, and he didn't like it. And instead of acknowledging his flaws and working on them, he is blaming you and getting angry at you. He is only trying to comfort his wounded ego. Exactly. OP, I'm glad it was the boyfriend who got the bruises and not you. I didn't read the original, and I don't need to, at least to recognize that it's best you two split. I don't know what context would make any of this okay. It's probably best long-term that you two go your separate ways. Even though it sucks, and definitely was not what you expected. It's going to take some time for me to get back on my feet and sort out my feelings. If he had just asked me to come back, I would have willingly complied. But I suppose it's all for the best. Honestly, it's karma he got his ass beat by that abuser. Cosmic intervention. You still have the love blindfold on maybe, which is understandable. But I hope you get to the point where you understand how horrific it is that he is so awful and enabling that, even after getting beat, he's still too obtuse to give consequences to that abuser. You are free from the enabler and abuser, and free to find peace and comfort. Update. I am at a loss as to what to do with my 54 male, wife 51 female hall pass request. My wife and I have been married since 2001 and together since 1999. She's the most intelligent, thoughtful, caring, loyal person I know, and I have always thought of myself as fortunate to have met and married her. She is, even today, aesthetically beautiful, and men have told her this throughout our marriage, and she has always shot them down. Earlier this year, she was diagnosed with uterine cancer stage 1 and had full hysterectomy. I was never concerned about the cancer. It was diagnosed early, dealt with quickly, and she made a full recovery. I took time off work to look after her after the surgery, and all seemed well. There were some to be expected emotional instances on her part, and although I am not an emotional person, we dealt with them together. After her recovery, she was insistent that we start living life to the fullest and took a 10-day trip to Europe, followed by a trip to Belize. We also have a trip to the UK and Spain/Portugal later this year. I am fine with these things, building memories and crossing bucket list adventures off her/our list. I also understand that these are a result of feeling fragile on her part. She also took up yoga, swimming, and healthy cooking classes. I was fully on board until last week. Last week, she came home from work and told me she wanted a hall pass, a one-time opportunity for her to sleep with someone else besides me. She said that since her cancer diagnosis, her outlook on life has changed, and she doesn't want to be handcuffed from doing things she wants to do. She explained that there is this guy at her work that she has always had some attraction to. He is leaving the company, and she will never see him again. So this is the perfect opportunity to sleep with someone else. She said that I could say no, of course, but that she would be mad/disappointed at me for an indeterminate amount of time, and that it would be confirmation of my male toxicity and insecurity. I don't consider myself to be toxic. And if not wanting your wife of 20 plus years to sleep with someone else is insecure, then I guess I am insecure. I told her that I appreciated her talking to me about this, but approval via coercion is not approval. I also said that I do not appreciate her language in describing my as of yet unknown reaction to this very large issue that could affect the rest of our marriage/life. I got up in the morning and she basically said that she was sorry for putting such a large decision solely on my shoulders, and that to help, she was taking the decision away from me. She booked a hotel near where her coworkers are having a party/send-off for this guy, and she would spend the night there with him and hoped that I would be here when she got back. That she would answer any questions I have about the night after it happened, but not before. She will not tell me who he is or anything about him because she knows me too well, and that I will dwell and obsess over him, and that would make it too real for me, which is pretty accurate. Her point of view is that the less I know, the better, which contradicts the offer to tell me anything I want to know after it happened. I think she knows I won't want to know/ask anything, or she simply will not tell me. Part of me thinks, at least, she has been honest with me, and she has been through a lot since finding out she had cancer. So maybe I should just let it happen. I certainly have no concept of what she went through, so I cannot dismiss how this affected her mental state/outlook on life. Part of me wants to put my foot down and say this is not going to happen and deal with those consequences when they happen. Her BFF called me callous for even suggesting that I wouldn't let it happen because I have no idea what she went through. I find it hard to believe that she is okay with the possibility of throwing away 20 plus years of marriage over some guy that she has had no relationship with outside of work, and that I should just call her bluff. Maybe she thinks similarly that I won't throw away the marriage because of one encounter. I just don't know what to do. I empathize with her, and then an instant later I am angry with her. Part of me wants to know who this guy is. What does he look like? What has he got that is so enthralling for her? Is he just a safe option? Is he married? Does his wife know? Would I be a callous a-hole for saying no? What can I do besides walking away? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. This is sad. I'd tell her this. Let me be clear. You have taken away no decision for me that is mine to make. You are free to decide to abandon your vows on your own. Your willingness to preemptively insult any negative feelings I might have about this is a clear indication that you are all out of care to give where I'm concerned. Let's just say that I hear you. My announcement of my own decisions will be forthcoming on my own timetable. Oh, and just so you cannot ever argue to the contrary, you most certainly do not have a hall pass for me. I will consider cheating to be cheating, and more so because this is willful and pre-planned. It's cheating in the first degree. While you may think you get moral credibility for honesty, that's not how that works. You don't credit for being honest, you just get dinged for being dishonest. Thanks for your input, but I don't think she cares. I think she's so confident in me not going anywhere that she is going to do what she wants. It is up to me to accept it or not, I guess. Kinda thinks this is the way your marriage will be from now on. With her epiphany, she wants to relive her life, and she's going to do it regardless of your feelings. I think she's being rather selfish and probably only threatens this because she thinks you are beaten down and will simply put up with it. Perhaps not the best time for trips and frills. She wants a single life. Let her see what that means. Yeah, her attitude makes me think it's not a one-time hall pass. Wouldn't surprise me if she has already cheated. Now for the first update. I have received a ton of advice that I couldn't possibly respond to. I do appreciate the people who took time to offer advice in the comments or via PM. It has been an exhausting couple of days. I was hoping that my opposition to her plans would give her pause, but unfortunately that did not happen. I said I am a hard no, and I am not sure how I feel about you if you go ahead with it. I was met once again with, "This is for me. It will be one time. What can I say to help you deal with it? You'll get over it. We were meant to be regardless of the situation." Remarks leading up to Saturday. She left Saturday, ostensibly to meet her co-workers, but in reality sleep with a guy. I asked her to text me when she was leaving for the bar, and when she did, I asked her if she was really going to go through with this. After her response of, "I am not answering any more questions tonight. I will see you tomorrow," I blocked my wife. Then I did something either stupid or brilliant. I went to the bar where the get-together was happening. Well, not a bar, but a transit bench across the street. I waited for a long time. It was running through my mind leading up to this event that I need to know who this guy was. Maybe to compare myself against him, to see what he had that I do not. It was driving me crazy not knowing who he was, and what was so special about him that she would ruin a marriage for. After what seemed like eternity, a woman that I recognized from my wife's office left the bar and got in a cab. Soon other people started filing out, and a whole group came out and people were hugging a man and shaking his hand. I assumed that I had my guy. I didn't see my wife, and had a brief thought that maybe she called it all off. I unblocked her and there were no messages. Everyone said their goodbyes and left. Dude was standing outside for a few minutes, and then my wife came out. She looked around, took his hand and started walking away together. Of all the emotions I went through, trepidation, sadness, anger, it was disgust that really encapsulated the event for me. The guy was short, fat, and bald, all the things I cannot compete with. Ultimately, I felt like a pervert for watching from a distance. I followed until they got to the hotel and then turned around and went home. I woke up Sunday morning and put a lock on the master bedroom door. I moved her things to the spare room and left a note asking her to find other accommodations as quickly as possible. I visited another friend who is a lawyer, and he gave me some sage advice and a couple of recommendations for divorce attorneys and made the introductions. My wife had been calling me numerous times since around 11 or so. Once blocked, the calls go to voicemail. I listened to the first couple, but felt nothing but some satisfaction when she couldn't get through to me, and she was obviously becoming concerned. I didn't want to go home, but I left in such a hurry that I didn't plan an overnight properly. I got home around 9, and as per my buddy's advice, I recorded the interaction. I was halfway up the stairs when she came up from the family room asking what was going on. "Could we talk? I thought we talked about this." I just answered with, "I am not interested in discussing this tonight," and went to bed. After not getting a response from me through the door, she left me alone. I feel kind of like a child for not talking with her and shutting the door on her, but I just couldn't look at her. Monday I got up and ready for work. She was waiting for me and asked if we could discuss getting back to normal. I said, "You have been doing all the talking for the both of us for the last week. Why don't you continue?" and left for work. I have an appointment with the attorneys my friend recommended for this week. As someone who is fighting cancer, I am infuriated on your behalf. I cannot imagine doing this to my husband. The audacity to say you're not getting a divorce, as if she didn't give up that right with her actions. She's delusional, and what she did is disgusting. Truly, I hope all of her friends' husbands know how easily it was for them to condone cheating. Having cancer is not a free pass to be an a-hole. Really, really sorry, Opie. You deserve better. Good luck with your cancer battle. I think it was just an excuse to do as she wanted. Cancer doesn't make you ruin your life. Second update. My lawyer wasn't available for a few days, so I was faced with the reality of having to live with my wife in the interim. I really didn't want to go home and have any discussion, let alone a discussion about our relationship. When I did get home, I was basically ambushed by her friends and mother-in-law. Instead of taking the remorseful approach, they decided that a full court press was what the situation warranted, and I was basically berated by them. The BFF was definitely the ringleader, but all of them decided to say such things as, "She's been through a lot. You don't know what she's been through. You have no idea what it is like to face something like this. This was a one-time thing. At least she told you. She could have hidden it from you. She will never see the guy again. And my favorite, you are an a-hole for what you have been putting her through these last couple of days." I listened with a stupid smirk on my face, and when there was a lull in their fury, I asked if they were all done now. Then I asked my wife if there was anyone in her circle of friends or anyone else that she forgot to tell about this. I quietly informed all of them that I was going to sit down with their husbands and tell them about how they verbally abusing me, shaming me, and trying to coerce me into staying with a cheater. After I told them to leave, I said that I had no say in the entire event, and so they have no say in whether I stay or not. My soon-to-be ex-wife sort of apologized. She said that she regretted the entire thing, but I said there is a difference between regret and remorse. The regret would happen because of the cause and effect. You have regret because your life will never be the same. Our relationship will never be the same, because you were wholly and willfully unconcerned about me and what I wanted. She asked if I had any questions, that she would answer them now, no matter how disturbing. I said that one question I do have is why. Not necessarily why this guy, why this low-end, unattractive, unfit guy, but why someone else in the first place. She said that the cancer scared her to her core. She felt like she was rushing toward mortality, and stepping out of that tunnel was appealing. She said that after all this time of being a wife and mother and worrying about family, this was something just for her. An escape. The guy was just someone who was interested in her for a long time, who she knew wouldn't say no. It was completely opposite to me. I said if I was going to risk my marriage, the woman would have to be a serious upgrade from you. I told her I saw you and him coming out of the bar that night. I watched you walk away from the bar hand in hand towards the hotel. I said you looked too familiar with each other and asked if there was something going on before all this. She said no, but who knows if that is the truth or not. I said that after all our years together, your lack of respect for me was astonishing. Then I finished by saying I would never be able to look at myself in the mirror again if I condoned that level of disrespect and stayed with you. I said I hope we can go our separate ways amicably, and that I have an appointment with a lawyer later in the week. I again asked her to find some other accommodations, and she simply said, "I am not going anywhere. We are not getting a divorce. I will give you all the time you need and do whatever you need to recover from this. We will get past this." She has asked me to go to marriage counseling, which I refused. Why would I go to counseling? I did nothing to warrant needing a therapist's advice. I had her served and gave her a notice to vacate. The house is my premarital asset. She has moved in with her mom, but I find her constantly coming by to see if I need anything, or making suggestions like, "What if we had an open relationship only on your side or 3 times?" Which seems kind of desperate and pathetic. Rebuffing her constantly and telling her she has to call to ask permission before coming by finally seems to getting through to her that there will be no us going forward. She has said that she will drag the divorce out for as long as possible, but so far has been compliant. The worst part of all this is telling my daughter that we are getting a divorce and why, followed closely by her begging me to give her mom another chance. I am not sure I would have been afforded the same consideration if I was the one who was cheating. Wow, OP, you're doing the right thing. There is no one freaking person in these comments, which think like 130 people gathered to discuss, that thinks you're in the wrong. Your wife betrayed you, and not in a one-time mistake kind of thing. She told you to get over it before doing it, and went along with it. I can't explain how disgusted I am. You should tell those friends' husbands exactly what you said. You should tell all of them how they're attacking and harassing you for it. Personally, that would be a reason for me to leave my partner, because someone who condones cheating would not be someone I could be with. Also, you can start therapy maybe. Therapy works wonders, and it will make you feel better in a crappy situation. And please approach your daughter gently again and again until she understands your side. The way your soon-to-be ex is using your daughter disgusts me. What kind of mother is she? Cheating without a care in the world and acting like this. Her regret doesn't mean anything. Everyone regrets when things are going down for them. She made a choice and is trying to escape from it. I admire her calmness, by the way. Best of luck to you and you only. Thanks. I have told my daughter that she would speak with a professional. I hope my soon-to-be ex-wife is happy with the life she has chosen. After vacating your house, is she feeling any remorse? Or is she still thinking you need to get over it as of today? Going no contact with wayward wife should be easy since daughter is an adult. What desperate measures has she taken that you haven't mentioned in your post and comments? She was stoic and held her position right up until she was served. Then she became visibly upset, then resorted to begging, pleading, and bargaining. Holy cow, OP. First, you're amazing for maintaining your self-respect and dignity. I applaud you. Second, the fact that she had all these friends try to berate and manipulate you only solidifies her making the right decision. She has enablers around her, which means she'll continue to make horrible decisions and feel justified because it's all in a vacuum. I hope you maintain your will and worth throughout this fight. It will be hard. Listen to your lawyer. Also, make sure you explain to your daughter that you cannot allow yourself to stay with someone who chose to betray you, even after you stood by her during the lowest point of her life. Ridiculous. Thanks. It was extremely embarrassing having a bunch of other people involved in this, and then having them involved in something that they had no business being involved in actually got me mad. I didn't say it in the post, but I actually yelled at all of them so loud that they actually started scrambling for their things. How many of them were there? 4, plus my soon-to-be ex-wife. So she listens more to her friends than you? Friends, the devil. Everyone close that whispers in her ear. Let it be. How long can they validate her bad choices? One day the penny will fall. It's actually a good test to see who else to cut out of your life associated with her. Good point. I told all her friends' husbands about how they enable this behavior, and the fallout is interesting. I said that maybe they're covering for one another, that maybe my wife was just the next link in the chain. This got them going through their wives' phones. A couple found inappropriate messages, and now all husbands have made their wives cut off my wife and each other. Was BFF one of those things? Of course, the BFF's husband says that she was definitely in an emotional affair and probably a physical affair as well. He is still digging. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother I told you so after he found out his son isn't his? When I, 22 female, was in high school, I had a boyfriend and I found out this girl at our school was sleeping with him while we were together. I hated her so much, especially because she talked about me in so many of their messages, saying she likes sneaking around with him knowing that he has a girlfriend and constantly asking him if I think anything suspicious. Imagine my surprise when we graduate and she starts dating my brother. I couldn't believe his betrayal to date someone who did me dirty and then speak to him for a while. But we were able to reconcile, and I even developed a relationship with her after she got pregnant. When she did get pregnant, I had my suspicions if my brother was even the father, because she had a history of being a side chick and promiscuous. I didn't say anything at first until one of my guy friends tells me she's been hooking up with one of his cousins, overlapping when she started seeing my brother. He even sent proof. When I showed it to my brother, he told me I was a psycho liar who never liked her and is trying to get them to break up. I told him that it's true. I don't like her. But that doesn't change the fact that I had Tinder screenshots during the beginning of their relationship after they made it official, and she cheated. We got into a huge argument where I told him to get a paternity test, since the timeline she slept with the other guy would be when she conceived. And she told him that he needs to cut me off because I'm being toxic during her pregnancy, and he did. He asked me to apologize to her so she could let us be cool again, so I did to appease him. Recently, it came out that back in late May, my brother and her split up. and she left the apartment for a few days. And when she came back, she took their son and told my brother it's over and proceeded to move into another man's house. They ended up getting back together and she moved back in. But come to find out, the other man, who is the suspected father, was the man she had ran away with and then moved in with temporarily, and that they filed a paternity test for him through the court and he's the father. Once it was established, she moved out again and took my nephew last week. The other man is now wanting my brother to relinquish rights so he can get on the birth certificate. My brother came over to the house and broke down sobbing and told us, since he hid everything. I guess her moving in with him again and establishing him as the father through the state was his breaking point. During this, he turned to me and says I should have warned him more and not let her isolate him. And I said I did, and he says I could have done more. I got upset and said it's his fault, since he knew she wasn't faithful and cut me off when I told him. And it's his fault. He forced me to be kind to her to have access to him or the baby. He ran out crying, and my mom says I'm a major a-hole and shouldn't have blamed him and kicked him while he's down after he tried to blame me. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Truth hurts, and you were only standing up for yourself. He cannot accept responsibility for his poor judgment and is looking to blame you for it. Just like he tried to blame you for bringing the truth to his attention while he was still with her. And shame on him for dating someone who was so awful to his sister. You don't tell someone who's on edge, I told you so. He came to them during a mental breakdown. Picking apart this rant isn't a time or place. They moved out a week ago. Poor guy probably hasn't registered a shock. Then he shouldn't have turned on to one person to try to help him. Sucks to suck. Not the a-hole. What a terrible brother. Your mother sucks too. If he's down, it's his own damn fault. He betrayed you, went no contact with you, and is now blaming you? Why the heck are you still in contact with him? I'd go no contact until he groveled with an apology. You could have lit yourself on fire while doing the Watusi, and he wouldn't have believed you. I cannot fathom sleeping with someone who wronged my sister, let alone how she did it by being the side chick. The visible from space sign that she has no loyalty to anyone was right there, and OP's brother still chose to let himself be fleeced. Not the a-hole. Your mother seems to have it nice and easy here, delegating responsibility to you to do all the sense talking to your brother and blaming you when you don't give it a proper babying. A mother perhaps should put up with your brother's mercurial temperament, but you are not responsible for his feelings. Drop your mother's shaming like a bad habit. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother he was an idiot to spring a surprise wedding on his girlfriend? To give my post context, I'll say that I was born and raised in the US, but I've lived in Australia since I was 19 and I am no longer a US citizen. I only have Australian citizenship. Before the pandemic, I used to travel back to St. Louis to visit my family at least once every other year, if not more. I haven't seen them in person since 2019, and I was planning to go visit soon now that the pandemic has calmed down. One of my brothers told me he was getting married and they were having the wedding in Cancun. He's my brother, so of course I was going to attend his wedding if I could. Most of my family was going to be there, so I would get to see them, and I would also get to finally meet my brother's fiancé. When we got to Cancun, I spent the first day seeing my family and catching up. My brother said his fiancé was doing last-minute preparations, and I would get to meet her tomorrow. I will also say that at this time, no one in my family was acting strange, and I had no idea what was coming. The next day, my brother brought his fiancé to lunch. I did get to meet her, sort of, and this is where everything went to hell. I found out she had no idea about the wedding. She thought this was a regular trip for just her and my brother. She didn't know my family or any of hers would be there too. My brother planned a surprise wedding. The kicker is that, although they talked about marriage, they were not even engaged. The wedding didn't end up happening and she was obviously upset. For her side, my brother had invited her mom and stepfather and her stepbrother. She was angry that not only did my brother spring the wedding on her, but that he didn't invite other people who are important to her, such as her dad and her best friend and others. My brother told her he didn't tell them because they would have wrecked the surprise, and warned her There was a public fight and I think more behind closed doors. All I know is that she left the next day and there was no wedding, and the rest of the trip was really awkward. I told my brother he was an idiot to spring a whole wedding on his girlfriend without them even being engaged. Everyone in my family knew and went along with it. Maybe I have been away from my family for too long, but I think this was complete stupidity. Now my brother is mad at me for calling him an idiot and saying it was a stupid idea because he thought he was being romantic and thoughtful. He hasn't talked to me since the trip ended. Do you all think I'm the a-hole for what I said? Thanks. Not the a-hole. Your family went along with us, which was stupid on their part. Now he's mad at you for saying the truth? He needs to grow up and apologize to his girlfriend. Seriously, who does a surprise wedding? Even if you were engaged, a surprise wedding is an awful idea if it's not something both people planned. Not the a-hole. You never ever take the decision away from a partner as how that one singular day will proceed. I've been married for 28 years and I still remember significant portions of the day. There's no way a partner should be happy not having any choice in how the day proceeds. Calling him an idiot is tame compared to what he actually is. I think it's more than just surface level stuff, like decorations or whatever. It's like, hey, I'm going to pressure this person into a legal situation without caring about what they think about it. It's creepy AF. I don't even have to read this and I will agree with you. This surprise wedding trend is going to be the leading cause of divorce in America. Who in their right mind thinks this is a good idea? I have not seen one success story yet of a surprise wedding. It falls into a whole new realm of stupidity. I saw one of those true crime shows where the husband did a surprise wedding and all the friends and family thought it was so romantic. Shocker! The husband ended up being abusive and controlling, and he ended up unaliving the wife. That was the first time ever hearing someone doing it in real life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pay my brother to do odd jobs around my parents' new house that I paid for? This is a rather complicated situation and I am at my wit's end. I am in too deep personally and cannot decide which route is the correct route to take and stick to. My parents, 1773, have fallen on hard times in the last few years. They've never been well off, but they have lived comfortably and have always been frugal. They made a bad investment, which basically cost them everything, including a big farmhouse on a few acres of land where we all grew up. 2 brothers, 45 and 50, and me, female, 34. One brother, 45, lives in the same town as my parents. He was in a very serious accident when he was around 30 and had a massive frontal brain injury and was in coma for a few months. He has since recovered to the level of being a fully functioning member of society, now married with 3 kids. His wife works from home and he is a handyman. He obviously doesn't have a set income as he gets paid for what he does when he gets a job. He relies heavily on money from my mom as she feels sorry for him and his family. The problem starts here because my parents don't have enough to help themselves, let alone my brother. A year ago, they received a final notice to leave their property and had literally nowhere to go. They have no retirement fund. I spoke to my brother, 50, who lives out of the country, and we decided together that we would purchase a property for my parents and give them a monthly allowance to take care of their basic needs. When my brother, 45, came to hear of this, he suggested we buy another acre and build a house so he could get one too. This was not part of the plan, and we found a lovely small retirement home for my parents. When the time came to sign a contract and pay the mortgage, brother 50 backed out. We had obviously already discussed the purchase with my parents, and my husband and I decided to still go ahead with the purchase. We live out of the country, by the way, and stick to what we had agreed with my parents. They are, after all, the people who raised me and made me who I am today. We have had to cut costs a lot in our own house, but it is worth it to make sure my parents are okay. Fast forward, and my parents were settled in a new house. There are a lot of odd jobs that need doing. Curtains need to be put up, frames need to be put on the walls, garden needs to be cleaned, etc. Brother 45 is happy to come and help with all these odd jobs, only if he gets paid by the hour. Now I feel like he sees my husband and I as the gravy train, and he wants to hop on board as he knows we are funding this. I'm just telling the heavily condensed version here, but I feel like we are paying for everything, while the other two brothers happily watch and do nothing. So am I the a-hole for not wanting to pay my brother to do these tasks around the house? Note that my husband and I would happily do it, but we're a 10-hour flight away. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. That sucks. That's stuff that kids do for their parents. It's one thing if it was specialized professional tasks, like plumbing, electrical, or even setting up complicated computer/TV/audio stuff. I get that they'd likely charge other people for doing those tasks, but charging mom and dad to hang your own family photos is low. I'm sorry. Thank you. Slowly wrapping my head around this situation. Appreciate your feedback. I hope your parents' house is not in your parents' name. Agreed, because you know your brother will somehow turn that into, I did everything in this house to make it habitable/comfortable/homey. I should inherit it for helping out so much. Not the a-hole. Suggestion? Don't mix family and business. If brother doesn't wish to offer help, then engage a professional you can trust and pay them. Exactly. OP, you can't force your brothers to contribute or be decent people. But you can sure as heck stop paying one of them for being an a-hole. I know you're far away, but since it's your hometown, I hope you have some connections you can use to find someone local who's capable of doing these pretty basic tasks. Like this could be a neighbor's teenager who wants to earn some cash over the summer. Those aren't specialized tasks. Not the a-hole, of course. Last story. Am I the a-hole for naming my baby the same name as a child from a previous marriage? I, 39 female, and husband have recently had our 5th baby together. I also have a daughter, 16 female, from my previous marriage. If you have read my previous AITA post, you will know that my daughter hates her younger siblings and has gone low contact with us since I announced this baby. She's currently living with her friend and only texts on rare occasion. Her name was a character of her and her dad's favorite TV show. My ex died when my daughter was 8. And although the name was my ex's choice, I have always thought it was a pretty name. When I had our latest daughter, I sent my elder daughter a text announcing it and included that they share the same first name. My husband's great aunt also has the same name, so I did not see it as a problem. I assumed she had no issue, considering she does not associate with the family at all anymore and would likely rarely see the baby. However, she was extremely angry and eventually told me to never talk to her again. I later received an angry message from her friend's father who she is currently living with. I don't see them sharing a name as a problem because not only will they not see each other often, but they also have different last names. So am I the a-hole? I would also like to add that the names have different spellings. And since most of you are calling me an a-hole, I would like to add some further information. My eldest daughter's name is Dana after Dana Scully, whereas my youngest is named Dana. We also been using the nickname Dave for the youngest, so no, not exactly the same. My husband's great aunt also shares this name, and it's not particularly unique. And they don't have the same middle name. As this was our 5th baby together, it was hard to find baby names, and this was one we could both agree on. Husband and eldest are not close, and especially since she is no longer living with us, they don't talk at all. I have to be clear when I say that I did not name my baby the same as my eldest to offend her in any way and did not expect such an argument. You're the a-hole. You're practically replacing your daughter by naming your new baby by the exact same name. And of course, she will see it like that, especially since you hardly talk. No wonder she hardly texts. The low contact was over a previous issue that I have posted about. And I think the fact we hardly talk should make it less of a problem. They barely associate. It's also not exact because different spelling. You gave up on her instead of getting her help when she said if you had more kids she'd off herself? That's not a massive red flag to you? You're the a-hole. Big time. I don't understand how you can be so blind to your eldest daughter's feelings. Or is this lack of empathy and caring on your part the main reason she left? From your post, it sounds like you've already written her off as a daughter. She perceives this as a move by you to replace her with a new child. It appears to her that you want to negate her entire existence. Her name is extra special to her because it's a link to her late father. You giving the name to another child is such a slap in the face to her. I don't blame her for being furious and hurt. It seems as though you don't love her at all. To say that I don't love my eldest is ridiculous. The name is spelled differently, and she also has other links to her father. Her middle name is her father's name, and she took his last name. Her first name is not extremely unique either. I have told her repeatedly that this is not an attempt to replace her at all, but I'm guessing she still doesn't recognize this. You are not here to hear how wrong you are, as evidenced by your argumentative attitude. You're here to have someone tell you you're right, and she's overreacting. I smell an arc. You're the a-hole, especially after reading your previous post about alienating your daughter. You sound incredibly selfish and unempathetic. Not only did you parentify your teenage daughter, but you drove her out of your home. And now you're essentially sending the message that she's been replaced. Who on earth gives two of their children the same name, different spelling or not? You need to get a reality check and actually start caring about the happiness of your children. Get some therapy or something. Your poor daughter.